Hello, how's everything going for you?
It's good, Aaron. It's good to see you this morning, and I'm happy that we are able to hold this Facebook Live event for everyone and talk about the state of the organization at this time.
People are obviously curious. Back at the beginning of January, the team opted out of the 2020-21 season. Um, and let's talk a little bit about that. I know that decision. We talked about it ad nauseum at the time, that it was a difficult one. How do you feel about it today?
Well, it was definitely the right decision for the organization at that time. Uh, you had to look at that moment and decide what was the future going to look like. And there were so many unknowns about would we be able to have fans, would we not? And the assumption at the time had to be we would not. So we based our decisions off of that idea and then looked at all the financial impacts that it was going to have on our organization. And at the end of the day, that it was going to be such a significant financial impact that it just made no sense for us to go through the entire process of having a season and potentially seeing zero income and yet having huge expenses at the other end.
So, right as of now, it's still, as you say, the right decision. That
It,
no qualms about it.
I think not only was it the right decision financially, the other part of it for me is that this season, for no matter, we're seeing how our guys are doing as part of that team in Chicago. They're undefeated. They're having a great period here. I don't know how many games they're going to ultimately play,
Right.
but they're not playing for a championship, and for me, as I've stated to you on numerous occasions, the fact is the biggest disappointment for me was the inability for our team last year to play for a championship. We had a great team. It would have been a real opportunity for us to win a championship, and that's what I was looking forward to. This season, you would have been playing for essentially some type of division championship, but I just it's not the same.
No, and you look around the league, there's one division that has three teams. There's one that has eight. For example, in Chicago on a Thursday, because of COVID, they decided to add a game on a Saturday. So there's no such thing really as a schedule. It's really fly by the seat of your pants.
Exactly, and that's what teams are doing, and understandably so. For the NHL, this is an opportunity for their players to develop. That's ultimately what this season's all about, continuing the players' development along their path to hopefully playing in the NHL. Nothing more.
Mhm. And that's been one of the good things about being partners with the Nashville Predators, is that it's always been a 1A, 1B. And I know a lot of other organizations feel the same way, but you look at the track record, the history between the Milwaukee Admirals and the relationship with the Nashville Predators. It has been a city to develop, a team to develop players, but also ultimately to win hockey games and have successful seasons.
Exactly. And you just look at our track record, as you said, we've had successful teams. People come to our games. God, I can't remember the last time we had like a losing team. And so it's been very special. We've been very fortunate over the years that I've owned the team to have so much success and making it to the playoffs. So our fans and our organization are very, very lucky.
So how do you see this going? You have to be uh, feeling positive about the way the vaccines are rolling out and things. It's starting to pick up anyway, and it's starting to make us feel good about the fall.
Well, exactly. I think, first of all, you're seeing the vaccines, and the more it rolls out and the more people that can get it, the better. Number one. Number two, there's some discussion. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal recently talking about how the number of cases have declined around the country. Those are positive developments, and we hope to continue to see more and more of that. So, the hope is that we can get through the next number of months, and that hopefully, we are going to be in a much better spot come summer and fall. And so we can start talking about Admirals hockey for the 21-22 season.
Nobody ever
That's our
calls
hope
me.
and our goal.
Nobody ever calls me, and the phone is ringing off the hook. So I apologize for that. uh, so as we look ahead to the fall, and I guess going back to the early January, the belief was, and the preparation, the mindset was that October was going to be as if it was any year in the past. That's how you would prepare for a season, with fans in the stands, with everything going as normal. So obviously there's hope that that is going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, to our staff's credit, as we sit here today, we're approaching 1 year since COVID really started to really put its footprint on our country. I remember Thursday, March 13th, where everybody's standing around. We looked like the season was going to get put on pause, and a lot has happened in the past 12 months in this country. But our staff did an amazing job immediately reacting, but also them starting to prepare they were preparing for 2021, but those preparations are going to lead to being prepared for 21-22 early and ready, and that's a really good thing, because we're going to be able to hit the ground running here, start talking to people about 21-22 and how we're going to be pricing and what we're looking to do. There's still a lot of questions that we have to answer. And I was talking to John Greenberg earlier that, here's what our hope is, but the fact is in 5 months, what we're hoping for may be different, because we don't know what the country's going to look like and what the government or authorities are going to allow us to do.
Fans, if you're joining us live on Facebook, you can put your questions in the comments section and we will get to them as we go on. Harris, I mentioned the relationship with Nashville, and a lot of people had concern about the relationship with Nashville, the future relationship with Nashville. Is there reason to be concerned?
Well, in my estimation, no, there's zero reason to be concerned. Throughout this entire process, from the time that we put our season on pause to sitting here today, that relationship continues to be as strong as ever. We're very grateful to everyone in Nashville, from David Poyle to Scott Nickel to everyone that we work with at the Predators. They have helped us along. We've had open discussions, and they knew as we were approaching what we were going to do that it was going to be very difficult for us to field the team for the season. And but they were very understanding, and that was key. You enter that, and we're talking, and we know like this is going to be very difficult for us to do, and yet you don't know how they're going to react. And they were incredibly supportive and understanding. We explained our story, we explained why we were doing what we were doing, and they were supportive every step of the way. So everything going forward, we expect to be positive.
The relationship that Nashville now has with Chicago, with a handful of players, roughly 10 or 11 players, who we would have expected probably in Milwaukee. There are a couple of players in Tucson. There's one player in Cleveland. There were a couple overseas. Freddie Allard is one who has since come back to Chicago. But can you, and I guess it's more Nashville's doing than Milwaukee's doing, but can you explain how the relationship with Chicago to be a farm team or an affiliate this season took place for Nashville?
Well, I think once Nashville understood, that we were going to opt out, I think from their standpoint, the good thing is that they didn't have to pay a full roster of players. They were going to pay guys that they needed to and were on contract with, and they wanted to continue to see development. But as we know, our team is not filled with nothing but prospects. There are guys who are, let's say, career AHLers who are helpful to developing those guys you want to see eventually with the big club. And so they had a limited number of players they wanted to see continue to develop, and they were able to come to an agreement with the Carolina Hurricane on a proposal that would allow them to basically share a team in Chicago. The good thing for Chicago is that they have a practice rink that had curved glass. And we've talked about this a little bit. On one of the big hindrances for us and the huge expense that we were going to face was having to play at the Panther Arena. And this is no slap at the people at the Panther Arena, but to play there was going to be very expensive. And the team in Chicago, they had a practice rink that other teams use and were using. And so the expense to play there, and especially since you're not going to play in front of fans, it worked out perfectly. Carolina was looking for a partner, and Nashville was there. It was a perfect setup. And then there was room for a couple other teams for a couple of our guys, as you mentioned. I know that Josh Wilkins, for example, is down in Tucson, and Brandon Fortunato is in Cleveland. So, there's a couple guys in a few other spots. We have, as you mentioned, Freddie Allard and Dono are overseas, and I know Freddie just came back, but it was a perfect situation for Nashville as well. So this has worked out well.
They were able to, yes, they were able to place their players and get them some development time. Yeah, and by the way, for those of you who do not know, the Chicago Wolves, with the help of Nashville Predators prospects, are off to a 7-0 start this season. Tommy Novak and a lot of guys are having wonderful years right now. It's really
Yeah.
fun to see. Have you been paying close attention to that at all? Do you have Josh Healy's app to stay updated on everybody that's playing around the world?
I am following Chicago and what they're doing, what specifically our guys are doing, and helpful to that team that is, as you said, 7-0 and just having a dominant start to the season.
When this season gets going again in 21-22 in October, what kind of changes do you foresee taking place inside the building? Safeguards perhaps for COVID or any other thing that may be going on?
And that we don't know. I'm just being honest with folks. I don't know the answer. Will we have to wear masks? Recently we've heard from Dr. Fauci and others that we may be masking up until 2022. So who knows? That remains to be seen. It's an open question. But I can assure you, and I can assure all our fans, that they will, we're going to do everything we can to make coming to an Admirals game a safe and fun opportunity for them and their families. That's not going to change. We will do everything we have to do that. I don't know what that's going to be required, and we will work with the city of Milwaukee and make sure that we're following all the protocols. And I know the building will be doing the same as well.
Absolutely. Let's a little bit on business wise. People, I'm sure you deal with this a lot. I know the office does, about ticket vouchers. People have vouchers or tickets from last year that never got used. Will they be honored in the 21-22 season?
Of course. And if for some reason if you have vouchers, you have tickets that went unused, please give our ticket department a call ASAP. We want to make sure you're taken care of. We want to let you know that your money's still good. And, we're very grateful to all of our season ticket holders and people who have bought the vouchers. We're so grateful. And it's been such a heartwarming experience to see the kind of support our season ticket holders have been giving our organization. They've stepped up in so many ways, whether it be they've not asked for their money back, to buying extra merchandise to continue to support us. It's just amazing, and we're so grateful, and we have just the best fans you could ever imagine.
Last year, the 50th season of Admirals hockey, there were many specialty jerseys honoring the 50 years of history of Milwaukee Admirals hockey. Looking ahead, you see the reverse retros in the NHL. Is there any plans with the supplier or with the league or with the Admirals solely if there is of a true third alternate jersey?
This is a great question. And, we've been thinking about this and planning on this. And so I'll just tease it that we will have something exciting for fans to see not too distant future.
Very good. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about it. I've seen it, and I know everyone in our organization is very excited, and we continue to work with Dan Simon, who's not only, he came up with our most current logo, but he did the 50th anniversary logo. He did our refrigerator logo. So if people like the work they've seen from him, they're going to see something special moving forward.
That sounds excellent. Another popular question that we've had over the years, and it bears repeating here once the season gets going or in the next few years, do you ever think that an AHL All-Star Classic will end up in Milwaukee?
I think we were moving a little bit closer to that idea. It was, we would have to partner with a lot of, with the building and whatnot, but it was something we started to, talk about. Whether we will, anytime real soon, I don't know. I think that we will. Most important is to get the organization back on solid footing, get back to where we were, and feel confident about the position we're in, and then be able to move forward with maybe an all-star game or so. It takes a lot of work by your staff. That's one of the things we have to consider, is that the staff works really hard, and while there's a lot of attention brought to the organization during that time, financially, it's a very difficult pull. So it's something we have to consider and make sure it's something we all are into before we agree to do it.
It's a hypothetical, but that begs the question. I think, and you bring up very good points with that. Do you think that maybe it's something that goes on hiatus for a year or two for the health of the 32, will be 32 organizations in the American Hockey League?
I don't know. I don't know what the league is going to do. I'm sure they really want to return to an all-star game as soon as possible. Obviously, this year there won't be one. I think if they can feel confident about where the country is, at some point they will try to schedule an all-star game next year. But if they don't, neither way will it surprise me. But ultimately, I'm sure the league wants it to come back.
When we're about a year away, or a year ago, the Admirals retired the number 20 for Darren Hadar. Do you have any plans? Is there anybody in the future that you think, you don't necessarily have to name names, but are there plans to retire another jersey or another number anytime in the near future?
Sure. If John Greenberg was listening, he'd be kicking me under the table, like, don't say a word. And so we haven't specifically talked about any one player. I have a player in mind, but he's not ready to have a number retired, but he's definitely one of the all-time greats that this organization has ever had. And he would be, like Darren, one of the few players that's from the more recent era, which, and the era is different. We had guys who were longtime members of the organization when the AHL was a little different. And now, because of the way the system works, it's like players come here for 2 or 3 years and then they're gone. So it's a little harder, it's hard for these guys to ever have like all-time great numbers. But there's one player for sure in mind I have who we'd like to do it, but the timing certainly isn't right for that.
I don't know. I haven't seen any other questions here, Harris, and I don't know. Am I missing anything? Is there anything that we need to get across to people who are watching that they need to know about, whether it's right now or the future?
Well, one of the things I think I saw over time, when and maybe reading things online isn't always the best thing, and people can be it's a place to be critical, and I understand that. But people were like, well, these other teams are playing. Why isn't Milwaukee? And I think I've tried to explain that we were one of the few teams that were going to be forced to play in our building and didn't have curved glass at a youth rink, for example. I call them youth rinks. Community rinks is probably the more appropriate word. And, the costs that we were going to see due to testing, because and it was still an unknown, even when we backed out, we did not have a firm handle on what the type of testing, how often, who, it was a really big unknown. And I want people to know that we did not take the decision lightly. It was a very serious amount of time was put into it. We looked at all the factors that we were going to face, and it just never made sense. And it wasn't just so that we could back out and not have to worry about it. But it was the right thing for our organization. And for others, we're very grateful, for example, that Chicago's playing, that they have a rink, a community rink. We've seen the games. There's nobody there other than people who are working the game. But I mean, that's all it is. It's guys. It looks like our practices over at, let's say, at our building, or at, more specifically, MSOE.
Right.
That's all it is. And fans were never going to be allowed in until maybe now. I don't know. I don't know what would have happened had we been playing. We know the Bucks are. I think they were trying to have about 1,800 last night. I think the snow prevented some of those people from coming, but it's very limited, and that's an 18,000 seat building. So we're about half that size. It's like maybe 900, but the expense of opening the buildings are tremendous.
Yeah.
Tremendous. So we never took this decision lightly, and we felt bad that we couldn't have a season in front of fans. So that to me that's one of the biggest things I've seen. But I want everyone to know that the staff of our organization worked so hard to be ready to have a season, and it just wasn't going to be.
To follow up on that, to reinforce what you said, I know of other teams in this league that they're at the rink. When I say they, I mean anybody involved with the organization is at the rink every morning at 7 a.m. to get tested. It's an everyday test. So yes, to not know the costs and all of that, but to have to test not only the players and the coaches and the trainers, but also the salespeople and everybody else. It's a massive undertaking and cost aside, a rather large inconvenience for a lot of people.
It is a huge inconvenience. And, I didn't understand yet what it was going to be from our staff standpoint. Was everybody in our organization going to have to be tested? So, for example, Jamie Ebers and Charlie Larson, who are, they're around our players a lot. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they were going to have to be tested. You were going to have to be tested. But then, all of you connect with the rest of us. So then do we all have, it just was very unknown, and those are going to be significant expenses to face. And then if your team, for example, goes on the road and suddenly you get a COVID outbreak, you can't move. You have to stay in place. And then you have significant expenses related to hotel, meals, et cetera, of guys just locking in their rooms and not going anywhere. So the unknown was always going to be a part of this process this year. Nobody knows when their team could or may not get a COVID outbreak. We've seen Tucson's going through that now.
Right, exactly. Not that it's different now because of the rink that the Admirals play at. The reliance on outside practice rinks isn't what it was when the team played at the Bradley Center. But is there a chance of partnering with a practice rink, of getting curved glass for the future? Is that something that's not worthwhile talking about?
It is actually probably something that we should at least look into. I think this thing has opened our eyes to what, we maybe need to talk to one of the rinks in the Milwaukee area and have that ability just in case. And obviously we all hope we never go through this kind of situation again, but working with the rink and partnering with them and such, it would be great.
Yeah.
And we should do that. And it's something that I think would be positive for everyone involved.
Yes, no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah.
Harris, okay, now again, is there anything we have missed?
Yeah, I'm going to address a situation that came up recently, and it's something that touched the entire organization from top to bottom. And that's the passing of Brian Sales. Many people may not know who Brian was. They probably saw him, though. If you came to Admirals games, you saw Brian Sales at every game. He would always walk across the ice after a game would end, and he'd be coming to get the water bottles out of the penalty boxes. Brian was stricken with cancer when he was very young and dealt with a lot of health issues along the way. But one thing about Brian we can all say is nobody worked harder than him. He worked for our organization. He did every little, I always call it the grunt work. It's all the things behind the scenes that make life for our guys easy, and not only did Brian work for us, but he'd work for the Wave as well. He did so many of the things that he did for us, he did for the Wave. You come by the building every day, you'd see Brian Sales doing laundry. You take those things for granted, but somebody's got to do it. Those things stink. And they're dirty and they need to be taken care of. And Brian Sales did that every day. And he and here's a little inside story about Brian and I. There was a year we had a number of injuries, And so I saw him one day and I told him, hey, coach told me that we're down so many guys, he might put me in for a couple shifts. I said, but did you see, have you found my bag? I can't find it all of a sudden. And I think you were the last guy in the room. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, well, did you lose my bag? It's got all my gear. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, this became a running joke literally for years. Like, hey, have you found my hockey bag yet? And I think of Brian every day. And I think about Larry and his wife and their entire sales family. Brian was such a wonderful young man, and he will be missed terribly in our organization and the Waves organization. And, won't be quite the same. Even when we do start up, his presence will be sorely missed. And,
Yeah, beautiful.
we're just thinking about ways that we will honor him. And I want to thank the Chicago Wolves for what they've done. They put a sticker on all of the helmets, not only guys from the Milwaukee Admirals, but guys from Carolina, and they're remembering Brian Sales, and we're very grateful for that. And but we will honor Brian in our way once we get going again.
We had a beautiful family, beautiful soul, Brian Sales. We had one more late one come in here, Harris. We just saw this last weekend the NHL play in Lake Tahoe. Is there, and I know that obviously this has been a question and that you have dealt with for many, many years since they started doing the outdoor games. Do you foresee a chance, a day where it would happen with the Milwaukee Admirals? Other AHL teams have made it happen in some fashion over the years. Is it something that could play in Milwaukee?
I think it could, and we haven't done enough research yet to see like where we could do it, how much it would cost. I mean, it's not simple, and to bring in all the equipment to put a rink in. But that being said, that was very interesting. We got involved this year with an outdoor rink that got put up in Whitefish Bay. I believe it's still up and running. And they played a high school game there. It was on it's in one of the parks. They put it on the tennis court, and I know it's been a huge success, the outdoor rink, and the community has really embraced it. But it taught us a lot about how you can do this. So being able to put up an outdoor rink somewhere is possible. And I think it'd be a lot of fun if we were able to do it somewhere. Where, I don't know. I know people would say, well, Miller Park, it's not as easy. Miller Park works all year, literally, once the Brewer season ends, on getting that ballpark and that grass and everything ready for the next season. And putting a rink down is, it's not the best thing, I know, for the grass and such. That being said, we would look at all places and see what's possible. And it might be a really neat thing for our community to have an outdoor game at some point in time.
Look forward to hopefully that happens, but looking forward to more in the more recent future, more foreseeable future of getting back on the ice with the Admirals in the 21-22 season. Harris,
I can't wait, Aaron. I can't wait for, I think we all take for granted. That's one thing I think COVID's taught all of us, like the things that we've all taken for granted in life. I think a lot of us don't take certain things for granted anymore. And everything from just being around our office to playing everyday games, just, a lot of times we just like, oh, it's the grind of the season. And there is a grind, but we take, maybe we all took it for granted, and now I don't take it for granted anymore. And I can honestly say, I can't wait for us to play a game in front of a big crowd and having the place, all excited to watch Admirals hockey.
it's a good place to point out that fans should call up the Admirals office, and you can get your 10 packs and your voucher plans and your season ticket plans. Those are for sale right now. Sponsorships available. All of that stuff is ready to go for the 21-22 season.
It is. And, there's no time like the present to take advantage of it. And our guys are ready to take your call and help you out. And we, of course, would appreciate any support that people can provide.
Very good. Harris, great to see you. Thank you. Stay well. We'll talk to you soon.
You too, Aaron. Thank you. And thank everybody for watching.
Yes. Thanks to all the fans for watching the State of the Admirals address.